Gulf War veteran and world-class athlete John Register discovered you can be chasing who you think you should be, or you can embrace who you actually are.
John shares with us details about how he found his new identity as a person, as a husband, as a father, and as a speaker. His fears were not allowing him to see his new normal easily, and at least 2 times in his life was through others that he found his path.
How many times as speakers we try to chase something that we really want, but we overlook what others are seeing. And this happened to our guest, John Register, between that motivational and inspirational. So welcome to VOE. Thank you for being with us today.
I am so excited to be on the radio and VOE with all y'all. This is great.
And we are happy to have you here. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I struggled a lot with folks that were, for myself, I wanted to be this motivational speaker, watching the Les Browns of the world, and, I want to do that, and that's me up on stage and doing that stuff. But in reality, after all of my presentations, after all the speeches that I gave, people were coming up to me and saying, man, that was so inspirational. You really inspired me. I want to change what I'm doing in my life right now. Or they come back even years later saying, I still remember that speech you gave. It was so inspirational. This is what I did with my family. This is what I did with my children. It's an amazing process. And I was just resisting that. I was saying, no, I'm going to, thanks for listening to that motivation stuff. And
that's not me.
And that's not me, right? Exactly right. I was really resisting it. And the reason I resisted it was because I was this 4-time All-American athlete from the University of Arkansas, track and field accolades. And every time a reporter came to interview me or the team, they sent a sports reporter and put us on the sports page. Makes sense. After I lost my leg in a freak hurdling accident back in 1994, I made the Paralympic team. And every time a reporter came out, it was not a sports reporter, it was a human interest reporter. And that human interest reporter wanted to share with their audience this inspirational story. And I'm like, no, I'm a sports guy, not this inspirational thing. So keep that away from me. So I had to go through this process, and really it took a long time, because when I came back from Sydney, Australia, after winning the silver medal in the Paralympic Games, I was sitting in an airport with my shorts on, so my artificial leg was prominently showing. And these 2 kids, about 5 and 7, were about 7 to 8 feet away from me with their matriarch, their mom. And they were talking real loud about this new discovery that they made. And they're saying, Mom, look, see that guy over there? Look at that guy's one leg. See that guy over there? Look, Mom, there goes Robot Man. And so I'm chuckling like everybody else chuckles. I've heard it, 1,000 times before. And I didn't pay any attention to it until the conversation changed in the gate waiting area with everyone else. And they were having this outer speak conversation that really should have been inner speak conversation about those 2 kids, 5 and 7, who were talking about this new discovery. I wish that mom would shut those 2 kids up. Get them out of there. It's impolite to stare. Stop talking about that man. Leave that poor man alone. So the mom gets up and walks the 2 kids in my direction, and I think they're going to do like the song says and just walk on by. But no.
What
they
happened?
stop and they say, excuse me, sir. My children are fascinated by your artificial leg. Would you please tell them what happened? Well, boom, I'm now blown away, because I have to, first of all, no one's ever done that before in that type of a setting with all this whole gate waiting area. And the lady said it loud enough so everyone else could hear. So now everybody else in the gate waiting area, they're now leaning in like that old E.F. Hutton commercial.
How is he going to react?
Right.
You suddenly had an audience.
I got this audience. I'm a speaker, so, I love it. So I tell them about this whole story and this whole deal of losing the limb, going through this traumatic time of life, and then moving on into Paralympic sport and then winning the silver medal. And I just happened to have it in my pocket because I was fresh off the plane from Sydney. And I put it around the 5-year-old's neck, and I put it around the 7-year-old's neck, and the mom's just like gushing and everything, and she asked me for an autograph, and she shakes my hand. And then the most miraculous thing happened. After they did that, they walked away. And I was blown away. I was like, what just happened? There's a moment here. Something just happened.
Right.
And so as I began to process, the conversations in the gate waiting area, they began to change. How cool was that? Did you hear that guy over there? That story was amazing. Those kids' lives will never be the same. I'm like, never be the same? What are they talking about? Well, if you think about it, maybe that story happens, almost 15, 20 years ago. maybe they've just finished college. Maybe they're the HR directors. And the next time a person walks into the room in front of them, maybe it doesn't matter that they have some type of a disability, or that they may be a person of color, or they may be just fill in the blank of what you want to, because their world has been opened up. And because their world is opened up, now they're more accepting of others. Then I thought about to myself, how many times did I miss it? How many times was I so into myself that I failed to realize that I might be impacting or inspiring somebody just because I wanted to be on the sports page and not the human interest page? So it really didn't matter about that. It mattered that each one of us, that I was inspiring, that each one of us in that gate waiting area, their inspirations. And that was my transformation, that inspiration leads us to motivation. Motivation in turn causes actions. Actions lead to results. And the results re-inspire us or allow others watching the process to catch the vision.
And they definitely changed your life that day too.
Totally.
So it was a moment of self-discovery.
Total moment of self-discovery. And I think that's what speakers, are always looking for. My first NSA convention, I found out so much that I didn't know about myself. I was on information
right?
overload. And it was so amazing just to see. I think the one thing I took away from it was I needed to get focused on what and who I was and what my message was. And it wasn't what I thought it was to be. It was what everyone else was telling me it was, because that was where the value was. And the more I resisted that, the more I was going away from the value that people were seeing. So I had to really embrace that inspirational value. And I do see a distinct separation between inspirational speakers and motivational speakers. Now, inspirational speakers sometimes get tagged in kind of the Christian or the religious aspect. But I really look at it as you have a delineation that inspiration becomes the catalyst to motivation. At the end of the day, every time we're on the platform or we're in front of an audience or we're doing a training session, we don't want the people to be worse off than they were when they came to us. We want them to be better. That means we're inspiring them. And we're inspiring them to do what? To act and be motivated to the next thing that they want to do in their life and be more and more successful.
And a lot of times it's also the way that how we see ourselves. And you mentioned before we started recording, we have to learn and to discover what to amputate from our lives.
That's exactly right. And, I had of course, I said I'm an amputee, and I had a freakish hurtling accident, which resulted into the limb removal of my left leg above the knee. And I won't go into that story. That's another time. But from that's just such a traumatic experience, and a lot of our men and women who come back from service are suffering the same things. And the whole transformation is, what's my identity? Who am I now? And I was saying that to myself on that hospital bed. Here's this guy on this Olympic pathway, and now the dream has ended. Life has changed. And I'm thinking to myself, after everybody's out of the room and I have this new limb is gone, I'm 40 pounds lighter, who am I now? Mm-hmm. What's my identity? Am I still a husband to my wife? The last thing I remember, her hand slipped away from mine. Am I still a father to my son? How's he going to view me now? And so all these prejudice things that I had against people with disabilities that I never knew were there were starting to come out, because I was fearful of how people would perceive me if I'm now something else. And I think as speakers we have that same thing as well. We sometimes get afraid of letting our true self, our true identity out, because we're going to get somehow discovered. But no, that's who we are, and that's what people are gleaning from us. So as I was struggling with that, the doctor comes in, takes one look at me, and I am in an emotional wreck. And he gets me up. He calls my wife Alice to come over, and she puts me in the wheelchair. That takes about 45 minutes to do, and they wheel me outside. John Jr. and my wife Alice are swinging on the swing sets. And I'm in this inaccessible playground in this wheelchair, and I can't get up and go even play with my boy and my wife on the swings. And this is something, families, we do this all the time, and I couldn't do it. And I just lost it. I broke down, started crying like a little baby. And my wife saw me struggling, and she comes over and she says, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And I began to articulate everything that happened to me the night before. And she said to me the words that stopped my downward spiral. She said, "You know what, John? we're going to get through this together. It's just our new normal. It's just our new normal.
How powerful.
It's beautiful. And I had to self-reflect and think about that and say, you know what, maybe it's about the things I still have left and not about so much the things that I've lost. Maybe it's about the opportunities and not the amputation. And John Jr. jumps off the swing set, comes running over to me, Daddy, 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 what's going on? And those 5 steps that he took, running his full on at 5 years old, he just validated me as his father, and it just created his new normal. So that's what I had to do, is create that new normal. And I believe that's what we're all doing every single day. Because when you get back to what we have to amputate, there are so many things that are holding on to us that we're afraid to let go of. But it's hindering us from getting up to our new life, our new expectancy, our new normal. So I'd say to my audience, what is it that you have to amputate to create your new normal?
Part of the work that you do is you come alongside other athletes and you help them start to look beyond some of those things that are holding them back. Mm-hmm. And you have a method of getting a little in their head and in their heart to really define where they want to go. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, sure. You know, one of the things I was doing with one of our teams for the Paralympic Games being those games for athletes with physical disabilities instead of what we most like to think about our Special Olympics. And so as I'm trying to get them to understand how good they are and that they can actually say the things they want, I have to do a little bit of kind of psychology with them, and hopefully they're not listening. So I challenge them, and I'll come in the room and I'll ask them, I say, so what is the goal? What do you want? What is it that you really want from this experience and going to Rio de Janeiro, which is going to happen next year, 2016? And they'll say, I just want to make the team. It's going to be awesome to make the team. And so then I'll come back and I'll say, so when you get on that plane and you finish up your competition and you're flying back to the United States and you just made the team, that's going to satisfy you. And you can hear a pin drop in the room, and they're just getting tense. And so the next question is, so what do you really want? And I'll repeat it, and they'll go, I just want to be on the medal stand. I just want to be on the medal podium. That's what I really want. I just want to be there. And so when you're on the plane ride home, and you got the bronze medal, you're telling me that's good enough for you.
Happiest day of your life,
Exactly,
really.
Right. And some will say, well, if I did my best and tried my hardest, and the silver medal came up, then that's what I want. I said, well, you haven't done the best right now, because you are in the future thinking about what's going to happen, and you can play with whatever you want to in the future. You can be the world champion. So what does it take for you to say, I'm going to win the gold medal? And as speakers, a lot of times I think we short ourselves on the brilliance that each one of us has. And we short ourselves, maybe say inside of the NSA, we have some great awards, right? The CSPs and the CPAs that are out there. And we say, well, I don't know if I really want to reach for that. I don't know if that's my thing. I'm happy just being in the game. But then your peers start receiving some of those, and you're like, well, if I don't say it, then I don't have to be it. And so we have to begin to articulate the things that we really want. And so say, yes, I want my CSP, and I'm going to do the work that needs to do to accomplish it, so I can advance the industry, to show that I'm a professional in this game, and that I'm just not going to bring the curve down. I'm going to actually try to lift everyone up, and everyone that comes behind me as well. Give other people something to aspire towards.